Former Chairman of the committee, Mr. King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me thank you for scheduling this hearing. It's absolutely vital, and I commend you for it. Commissioner Davis, first of all, thank you for your leadership. It was absolutely phenomenal. Let me just ask you, though, from the time of the attack on Monday afternoon until the shootout early Friday morning, did the FBI bring to your attention at all the fact that the older brother had been under investigation by the FBI?
No, we didn't start to look at that until after the shootout.
So this is 3.5 days after, and the FBI still did not make you aware of it?
That's correct. I should stress that there was an ongoing investigation and a lot of information coming in from a lot of different sources. But the answer to your question is no, we didn't look at the brothers until after the shootout.
After the photos were posted late Thursday afternoon, did anyone from the local mosque come forward to identify either of the brothers?
I'm not certain of that. I don't know of anyone that did, but I know that there was some conversation with a group that we meet with frequently from the mosques called Bridges, but I'm not quite sure what their role was in the conversation.
Could you checking back to us on that, whether or not, because to me, if their photos were all over television, someone should have recognized them from the mosque.
By all means.
Also, did any student from UMass Dartmouth come forward to identify the younger brother?
They did not.
Senator Lieberman, first of all, it's wonderful to see you here today. During the time I was ranking member and chairman, I didn't work more closely with anyone than you.
Thank you.
Conference committees, legislation, the joint hearing we held on Islamic radicalization in the military. I want to thank you for that. In your statement, though, you must mention any number of times the term violent Islamist ideology, violent Islamist extremism. I have not heard one administration official, including the Attorney General and the President, use the term Islamist. As Chairman McCall said, how are we going to know the enemy if we don't identify the enemy?
Well, I agree with that. Look, we know that there are other sources of terrorism than violent Islamist extremism. We know that from the Oklahoma City bombing. We know it from the Unabomber. But it was self-evidently and publicly violent Islamist extremism that led to the attacks against us on 9/11/01. And didn't take detective work. Osama bin Laden and everybody else declared that to be the purpose. They want to bring down America and our civilization. And, it's the old Chinese wisdom, millennia ago, the first thing you got to know in war is who your enemy is, and you have to call it by its name. Now, I understand the sensitivity here, but I think in some sense it's unfair to the overwhelming majority of Muslims in the world, and particularly our fellow Americans who are Muslim, to leave it unspoken as if somehow they're part of this. It's obvious that the violent Islamist extremists are a very, very, very small minority of the community. The community in America, which is the one I can speak about, is, as we all know from our friends and neighbors, is law-abiding and patriotic. And I don't think we do any service to them. In some sense, it's almost unfair not to call this by its name. We're all looking for the right words to distinguish this small group of radicals, extremists, terrorists from the great majority of, overwhelming majority of Muslims in this country. And maybe we haven't found the right words, but in this case, what I gather happened in the mosque in Boston is very instructive. When Tamerlan Tsarnaev came back from his trip overseas, he was clearly radicalized, and he began to speak in such an extremist way that I gather the people in the mosque asked him to leave. Well, that's representative of, if I can say, the mainstream Muslim community in our country.
Senator, I'm running out of time.
I'm sorry.
One statement I'd like to make for the record, Mr. Chairman. We're talking about the lack of information sharing. I think it's absolutely indefensible that the FBI found out on Sunday that there was a planned attack against Times Square and never notified the NYPD. Here's a city that's been attacked twice, has 16 plots against it, and the FBI refused to give that information to the NYPD. And their reaction, when Commissioner Kelly and Mayor Bloomberg and I went public was to criticize us, saying we were somehow compromising the investigation, at the same time saying the reason they didn't give the information to the NYPD because there was no threat, that it was not a real threat. They can't have it both ways, and the failure to share information is absolutely indefensible, and I think they owe everyone an explanation as to why they withhold information, and to me it fits right into this pattern of keeping it to themselves and not sharing and not attempting to stop attacks. I just can't explain it, I can't understand it, and to me it's a severe breakdown in law enforcement. I yield back.
I thank the gentleman.